Things off strong with obviously what I kind of hinted to in my intro, which is an Instagram video of an interview on the Subway Takes account. So for those who don't know Subway Takes, it's an internet talk show hosted by Kareem Rama. It's pretty cool. He's like kind of taken, well, this is how I think of it, is he's taken that late night talk show that is really going away. And the late night talk shows always have interviews, right? And I feel like he's turned this social media series into what is an interview format, and it only lives on social. And I just think a lot of the stuff that we see that were these original like late night hosts and are moving to more of these creators, and props to him because he's killing it. All of his interviews are filmed on the New York subway, and Kareem always asks, "So what's your take?" And guests respond with an array of different takes that are oftentimes controversial, other times not. But it can be anything from, I don't think men should sit down on the subway, to raise a family is easy, to, this was one of my faves, that straight white men should stop trying to be DJs. It's so good. Yet I did go and see a straight white male DJ on Sunday. But Chris Lake, you killed it. What can I tell you? And there were some girlies that opened for him, so love that. But most recently, he interviewed J.Lo. And her take was, I quote, "You have to be born in New York to be a New Yorker." And Kareem actually agreed with her, which I thought was interesting considering he's probably one of the most influential media voices in New York right now. And he was not born and raised in New York. And I would consider him a very influential New Yorker right now. I digress. My first thought was immediately, this is literally a city of immigrants. This city is built by immigrants. There's a lot of people who were born and raised here, but there's a lot of people who were not, who have built this city, and they were not born here. And I think the reason people come here is because it's so welcoming. The joy and beauty of New York is the fact that it's made up of so many different people. So I started to reflect on this more, and I thought to myself, what do I think makes a New Yorker? And I have 3 points for you. So, number one, New York is built by people who arrived. As I said, the reason New York feels like New York is because people come here from everywhere. They bring their food, their ambition, their sadness, their art, their pain, their languages, their families, their loneliness. That is the magic of this city and what makes it so different. It is this melting pot of people from everywhere. So saying that you're a New Yorker because you were born here kind of defeats the whole purpose of this city, I feel. Number two, New York is where people go when they don't belong anywhere else. New York, I think, is a place where a lot of people go who haven't felt like they could be themselves in other places. It's a city that I think if you're willing to, walk through the fucking muck, the trash, the rats, the crazy people, it will welcome you and it will embrace you. And you can really be whoever you want to be. I've seen it transform myself. I have seen it transform friends. I have said to friends that were moving here, you will be transformed. And I've witnessed it happen. And I think it's really enables a lot of us to have the creative expression and freedom to become who maybe we have always been, but weren't able to be in other places. And number three, belonging is not a suffering contest. I think what bothers me the most about this subway take and this conversation is that it's turning belonging into a suffering contest, as if the person who had it the hardest gets the strongest claim. And I really believe in a thing called the problem complex, which really means that no matter who you are or what your situation is, you're going to have problems in your life. And just because maybe your problems aren't quote unquote as hard as someone else's, it doesn't diminish what is happening for you. I think we've all dealt with crazy shit in our lives, and we've all, no matter where you grew up, had things that you had to overcome. And I just think it's funny that I often find with born and raised New Yorkers, there's this ego, and honestly, not even just born and raised New Yorkers who've lived here forever too, but there's an ego around like how hard it is or how long you've been here, how long you've suffered, and that growing up here, you've suffered the most. And I actually really encourage people to go listen to my podcast episode where I interviewed a close friend of mine who's a food historian and an author, Victoria Flexner, and she was born and raised in New York on the Bowery. And we speak a lot about her childhood and how different it was from mine. I always found her story so fascinating to me. But for her, her upbringing was normal. That was her normal. And she says learning about my childhood is crazy to her. She's like, you had to deal with like crocodiles and snakes and all these crazy animals just living with you essentially. And I'm like, yeah, but I just didn't think about it because that was my normal. So it's this whole idea of suffering. Like, what is suffering? Which is worse? Her getting up and having like hookers outside her apartment building as a child and the mafia around the streets, or me waking up and seeing a, crocodile that could kill you in the river where we lived. There were hundreds of them, or snakes in the rafters that fell down on my mom when I was a baby. Like, we're both dangerous. So, I think it's just a funny sentiment to think that like, I don't feel like you having been born somewhere automatically gives you the right to say that that is the only way that you can be from there. And I guess that kind of ties into the comment that I actually left on the video. And I said, as someone who grew up in Australia to immigrant parents, I've never really felt at home. We have family all over the world, so no one place has ever felt like my place. Until I moved to NYC in 2015. I immediately fell in love with the city, and it felt like a place that finally understood me. I wouldn't be who I am today without having lived here, and I may not be born and raised in New York, but moving here with no suitcase, no job, not knowing a single person, I like to think I have what it takes to be a New Yorker. So to me, that's the sign of a New Yorker. It takes fucking guts to live here. And it may have been hard being born and raised here, but do you have any idea how hard it is coming here with no job, like I said, and not knowing anyone, and you just walk in fully blind, especially people who come from other countries, having to work out bank accounts and like health insurance. God, that's the worst. All those things, you have no fucking clue how hard that is when you are having to move to this city and then do all of that as well. That's fucking hard. So if you're not going to give me a pass for doing that, I'm not going to give you a pass for growing up here. So honestly, props to all the people who have moved to New York and immigrated to New York. The city is not easy, and I don't think being born here and suffering through growing up here earns your belonging. I actually think if you stay and you contribute to the city, you contribute to the energy of this incredible place in a meaningful way. You live your life fully in service to who you really are at your core, then I think that makes you a New Yorker. And ultimately, being born somewhere and belonging somewhere are not the same thing. Period.